there were messages upon messages online pouring out of love and memories and thank yous of Michael Brown, who owns Sloppy Chops behind me. They're getting the message of his death rocking the community all throughout Detroit.
Let me ask you something. What does it take to build something from nothing in a city that the rest of the world gave up on? What does it take to turn a dream into a restaurant into a brand, and a brand into a movement? Mike B. Brown knew the answer to that question. He lived it every single day. And then one cold February morning, someone took it all away from him in seconds. It was 4:30 in the morning on February 28, 2026. Detroit's west side was quiet the way it only gets in the dead of winter. Streets empty, sky still dark, the kind of silence that makes you feel like the whole city is holding its breath. Outside the Sweet 100 cocktail bar on Schaefer Highway near Fenkell Street, that silence was shattered by gunshots. 3 people were hit. 2 survived. Mike B. Brown was found across the street from the bar, alone, separated from the other victims. And he did not make it. Just like that, Detroit lost one of its own. But before we go any further, if this is your first time here, welcome to Crime Files. Hit that like button, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you never miss a story. We cover the cases that matter, the people behind the headlines, and the communities left behind when justice hasn't shown up yet. Now, let's get into it. To understand what was lost that February morning, you have to go back, way back. Michael Brown did not grow up with a silver spoon. He grew up in Detroit. And if you know Detroit, you know that means you either find your hustle or the streets find you first. Mike found his hustle early. He started as a party promoter, which in Detroit is almost a rite of passage. You learn people. You learn energy. You learn how to read a room, how to make strangers feel like family, and how to build something out of nothing but a flyer and a vision. Mike was exceptional at all of it. From promoter, he moved into club ownership. He spent decades learning the nightlife business from the inside out, the good nights, the hard nights, the nights where you're counting quarters to make payroll. He understood the grind in a way that most people only read about. But somewhere along the way, Mike B. started thinking bigger. He started thinking about food. He started thinking about legacy. In 2020, right in the middle of a global pandemic, when most people were shutting things down, Mike Brown opened Sloppy Chops on West McNichols, just off the Lodge Freeway. Let that sink in for a second. The whole world was falling apart. Businesses were closing left and right. And this man opened a steakhouse. That is not recklessness. That is faith. That is the kind of belief in yourself and your city that cannot be manufactured or faked. Sloppy Chops wasn't just a restaurant. It was a statement. It served high-end cuts, ribeyes, tomahawks, the kind of steaks you'd expect to find in an upscale downtown spot. But Mike kept it accessible. The lamb chop specials became legendary on the streets of Detroit. Affordable, delicious, packed with flavor, and packed with people who felt like they belonged there. That was the magic of what Mike built. You didn't have to be rich to feel like you were eating like royalty. A year later, he opened Sloppy Crab on East Jefferson Avenue, later renamed the Crab Sports Bar, downtown Detroit, right near the Renaissance Center. Celebrities started coming through. The energy was electric. People from all walks of life were showing up, lawyers, artists, old heads, young hustlers, families. Mike had created something rare in any city, but especially in Detroit, a place where everybody felt welcome, where the food was serious, the drinks were strong, and the vibe was undeniable. Now here is something that tells you everything you need to know about who this man was. A food reviewer once posted a pretty harsh critique of Sloppy Chops online. Went viral. Most restaurant owners would have gone on defensive, argued back, maybe blocked the person. Not Mike B. He called that reviewer personally and said, "Everything you said was true. We have work to do. I want you to come back when we open our new location, and we have our staff right. I appreciate you letting me know." The reviewer said they had never, in all their years of covering restaurants, had an owner respond like that. That one moment captured Mike B. better than any award or accolade ever could. He was a father of 5, a husband, a connector. People in Detroit would tell you that Mike made sure nobody around him went hungry, literally and figuratively. He hosted memorial services for free when families couldn't afford them. He employed people from the community who needed a second chance. He backed other black-owned businesses and showed up for events, fundraisers, and causes that had nothing to do with his bottom line. DJ Motor City, one of Detroit's most beloved DJs, put perfectly when he said Mike didn't just create a restaurant. He built opportunity, community, and a gathering place where people from all walks of life could come together. So now we come back to February 28th. And this is where things get heavy. Because even with everything we know, there are still so many unanswered questions hanging in the air over this case. Mike was outside the Sweet 100 cocktail bar in the early hours of the morning. It was a Saturday. It was late or early, depending on how you look at it. 3 people were shot. 2 of the victims were found right in front of the bar. Mike was found across the street, separated from them. That detail right there, the separation, is something investigators have been looking at closely. It raises questions. Was he targeted specifically? Was he trying to get away? Did whoever did this follow him across that street? Detroit Police Department spokesperson Jasmine Barmore confirmed the basics, the location, the time, the triple shooting, but said almost nothing else. No suspect description. No motive released. No arrests as of the days following the shooting. The 2 surviving victims were not publicly identified, which means their accounts, if they gave any, have not been shared with the public either. The investigation is being handled by Detroit's Homicide Unit. Crime Stoppers is offering the public a way to share tips anonymously at 1-800-SPEAK, up or through Detroit Rewards TV. But as of right now, the streets are quiet on this one, and that silence, in a case as high profile, is unsettling. What we do know is this. Mike Brown was at a late-night establishment in a residential neighborhood, and his death has reignited a very real conversation in Detroit about after-hour spots and the violence that can sometimes spill out of them. Community group New Era Detroit came out almost immediately after the shooting, calling on the city to pass ordinances limiting how late businesses in residential areas can stay open. Pastor Maurice Mo Hardwick, founder of the Live in Peace movement, and someone who knew Mike personally, said he believes an ordinance is coming and that the community is going to push hard for it. But here's the part that sits with you. None of that brings Mike back. His restaurants are still there. His name is still on the walls. His staff still shows up. His family still wakes up every morning in a world where he no longer exists. And somewhere out there, the person or people responsible for pulling that trigger are still walking free. Now I want to talk to you directly for a second, because this is the part of these stories that I think we don't discuss enough. When someone like Mike B. Brown is killed, someone who was a pillar, a builder, a father, a community anchor, what does that do to people around him? What does it do to the young person who worked in his kitchen and saw him as proof that it was possible to make it? What does it do to the neighborhood that watched him turn an empty storefront into something that made them proud? What does it do to his children? There's a theory in psychology called the ripple effect of violence. The idea that when one person is killed, the trauma doesn't stop at the crime scene. It spreads outward like rings in water, touching everyone who ever loved that person, looked up to them, or simply felt safer knowing they existed. Mike B. Brown's murder sent those ripples all the way through Detroit and beyond. So here are the questions I want to leave you with today, and I genuinely want you to think about these. Why is it that in cases involving beloved community figures, the streets often go silent instead of speaking up? Is the fear of retaliation stronger than the love we claim to have for those we lose? And what does it say about us as communities when we mourn loudly on social media, but stay quiet when investigators need us most? Someone out there knows something. Someone always does. The question is whether they will find the courage to say it. If you have any information about the death of Michael Mike B. Brown, please contact Detroit Police Department Homicide Unit or call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-SPEAK. Up. You could be the reason his family finally gets the answers they deserve. And to you watching right now, if this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of someone you love or a community you care about, then do something simple but powerful, like this video. Subscribe to Crime Files. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop a new story. Because these cases need voices. These families need people who refuse to look away. We're going to keep covering these stories until justice shows up. And we need you here with us when it does. Rest in power. Mike B. Detroit will not forget you.